Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
The year is 3013. The galaxy is scintillating in the mellow light. Two galactic pilgrims seek out vistas in the samurai future to bring forth the unity of the cosmic shaman. Opening the door of the pantheon of mystics, the evil sorcerer wizard powers the engine of science, seeking to forever alter the sacred balance, travelling on effervescent balls of summer fire.
This week, Transformers.
Okay. In the year 2007, I became a man.
Man! Now you're a man. Do you know that song?
No, it sounds like one you've made up.
Oh, I didn't. It's the South Park guys. It's in their very classy film entitled Orgasmo.
All right then.
Anyway, you can
I
find.
didn't even know that was those guys.
Yeah, you can find that on YouTube. So get that. You will get in the mood for this film definitely with that one, which is really from 2007.
Transformers.
Yeah, I had to leave you with that reveal, right? Because you're the transforming dude. And what? Let's flip it. Let's flip. I'm flipping the table, man. Who are you?
I'm Luke. Who are you?
I'm Matt, and welcome to the Sci-Fi. Welcome to the Sci-Fi
Sanctuary.
Yeah, Skype just doesn't time us on that. Okay.
It doesn't vibe with us constantly trying to throw sentences over to each other. So you say I'm the Transformers guy, but today we're joined by even more of a Transformers guy. He's the writer of Transformation. He's the one of the hosts of podcast Maximus. It's Stuart Webb.
Hello. I was just trying to work out who that incredibly deep voiced man who gave the introduction was. I don't know who you paid to come in and do that. But yes, I'm here as well.
It's one of the big burly men that I paid to beat me up at the weekends.
Yeah, well, I've heard about you and your big burly men as well. Yes, it's
Is that where the friend of Bears comes in? The Bears come and beat you up?
Matt, I've said on multiple occasions that if I was killed by a bear, that I would happy to go that way. But in this case, I do mean like bears.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Because Nagano will, definitely here in Nagano, Japan. I think we have a few bears rolling around, but Hokkaido has the ones with some scary claws. That's the northern island in Japan. Anyway, moving on. We're not talking about bears today. We're talking about very large robots. I'm probably the shallow end here, but I'm on the real end. I played with lots of Transformers when I was a kid in the 80s, right? And built the Ark out of wooden blocks and kind of ran from there. We've had a guest on the show a few times, Andrew, so we combine our Transformers and G.I. Joes and do it all in the mid-'80s, the late 80s, and then I forgot about it for a while. So this Transformers movie was interesting in that it was the first time where my childhood was clearly being sold back to me. So, of course, I was very excited to go see it. I did see it in Japan, actually. Yeah, 2007. It's one of the first date movies I took my now wife to. Transformers is a date movie, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That's beautiful. It's bringing people together in harmonious love.
I don't know if you liked it.
Right, imagine if you took it to see the G.I. Joe film instead. You'd probably got about your 8th wife by now.
Yeah, just like Henry VIII and the 8th. Does he have 8 wives?
I thought it was 5.
No, he had like 5. Yeah, sorry, it's because he's the 8th. Anyway. He probably went to see G.I. Joe instead, or at least the 16th century equivalent. Luke, you're a little more deep. I'm just coming with weird childhood vapors that reconnect with my adulthood. But I know you and Stuart both have probably more notable stories to tell here. Luke, you want to get rolling on that?
Well, yeah, as a kid, I think I first got into Transformers. I inherited a bunch of Transformers and some VHS tapes of the show secondhand. And then, obviously, a few years later, we had Beast Wars, which was like my generation's Transformers. And I got super into that. And then, for a few years there, I wasn't like crazy into it. I guess I was more into the Pokemon and the Digimon. And then it was around the time that the rumours that a film was coming started to surface. And this was after, in the UK, we had those Citroen adverts where the car turns into a robot and does a little jig. And everyone was like, oh, they're going to make a Transformers movie with those effects. And I picked up my old Transformers, I picked up some new ones, and me and my brother watched the anime, and then I sort of got into the comic books, got back into it, and then, yeah, this movie came out, and it was like, I would say it's probably the biggest movie of my life. It was a huge event film at the time, and it was just like, oh, I've been waiting all this time for this movie exactly. And I actually remember there was a girl I was into, and I was trying to get her to go on a date with me to see this film. And she had almost agreed to it, so much that I booked the tickets, and then, oh no, actually she couldn't go. And then I ended up going with my buddy instead. But, yeah, I think I saw this one.
And you married your buddy?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then the marriage didn't work out, and that's why I fled to Japan.
Mm.
No, I did actually end up seeing the second Transformers film with that girl, so there you go.
It's a beautiful story of romance.
But then even after that, my Transformers obsession just got deeper and deeper with more movies, an insane number of figures, more comic books, and even going to Transformers conventions, which is where I befriended the gentleman we're hearing today, Stu. So I think you're even deeper into Transformers than me again, right?
It's like Russian dolls, and
Yeah.
I am.
Yep, I'm the man inside.
Russian
I'm the man
doll.
inside Matt, and you're the man inside me.
It's just said, what's about to come out of me in a second will surprise you all. But I said beforehand I wasn't going to be as classy as the Mission Log guys. But my personal Transformers fandom goes to when I was 5 or 6 in my first year of school, where I wasn't particularly enjoying my first year. I was having a lot of trouble fitting in. So as a reward for good behaviour, one week my mom got me the British Transformers comic, which was a revelatory moment for me in my personal development. This big sort of explosive sci-fi action comic, and that became my weekly treat from there. And I actually pretty quickly, after not being that interested in it, threw myself into learning how to read. So my mom wouldn't have to read the comic to me, because she would give these commentaries along the lines of, this is shit. This is awful. That didn't help that the first issue I had was one where heavily featured RC, who was treated, up until fairly recently, quite badly by most Transformers media as the only girl. So she would deconstruct all the sexism as well. Which as a kid, I'm like, well, you're clearly wrong. And then, of course, as an adult, you go, yeah, that was actually quite right. Annoyingly. Luckily, she won't listen to this podcast, so she won't know that. But that became entry level. I was there in that comic from late 1988 through to its end in early 91. And kept all most of those issues in their little boxes, because my mom kept her magazines, like Starburst, in little boxes, so I did as well. But being a little kid, they weren't in great condition, and they did eventually get chucked out because they were all over the place. We had our pirate VHS of Transformers the movie that my granddad made for us, my copy and rental tape. But on that tape, as I was talking about the other day on Twitter, before that he had taped Nightmare on Elm Street 3 on that tape, which is a longer film. So if you watch the Transformers movie, you get like the last 20 minutes of Nightmare on Elm Street 3 you can watch as an 8-year-old. As well with, I think there was some nudity in that last 20 minutes as well, which was interesting anyway. And then we had all the toys, and it never quite went away, so I did try to keep some of the comics. We did watch Beast Wars when it came on GMTV. I'm sort of general awareness it was still sort of there. I remember the Generation 2 comic, the British version, was on sale in... the only newsagents that sold it was one that had prestigious amounts of pornography, like full-on hardcore pornography on the shelves. It was that. And Transformers Generation 2 comic. Those are the only two things that they sold. And I wasn't allowed to buy it. The comic, that is. There was not really an opinion either way on the pornography. Because I was considered too old for it. It was too expensive for what it was. But by the end of the decade, I had my own money. So when the comics came back with Dreamwave, I was able to buy them myself. And I've basically been there with the comics ever since. Watching a bit of the cartoons. And then in 2005, I was talking about this the other day, but sort of how long Michael Bay was directing Transformers films for. But his first one was announced when Revenge of the Sith came out. And he did his last one when The Last Jedi came out. So he had a good long stint on these films. I was a little incredulous. I've not really seen any Michael Bay films apart from Armageddon. It's easy to forget now because he's so associated with this franchise and doing all these terrible things to it in the eyes of serious film critics. But he was a proper A-list director. What I always point out is that was the same year the first Transformers film came out in Hot Fuzz. There's a joke about Bad Boys 2, but depends upon Bad Boys 2 being a film that people who like action films have seen and liked. And that's Bad Boys 2. That's not even the best Bad Boys film that Michael Bay directed. So he's a guy with a fan base. He probably needed a hit at that point. Of course, he'd done Pearl Harbor before that. And of course, the commentaries, he was very keen to work with Spielberg to produce the Transformers films. I don't think we are ever having any interest in them, to be honest. But he's on there as a credit. But because I'd only seen Armageddon, I was slightly incredulous until I saw that first trailer, and I was like, ooh, hello. And I didn't have a date to go take to see it, unfortunately, which I now regret, because clearly I now either be married or living in Japan, or married and living in Japan. Those are the three options, it seems, and I snapped all three of them.
Yeah, I'm actually bringing up some 80s comic book covers, and so for me, the 80s is the Marvel run, but I'm looking at some covers and definitely, oh yes, I remember those. I definitely have my run with the 80s comics as well, in the 80s itself.
I was going to say, because not so much this one, but the second one especially, is a surprisingly amount from the Marvel comic is in the second one. There's a whole plot line from it that's adapted into the second movie, which is an unexpected amount of lore respect.
Yeah, the way I looked at them, the first one was just like generically the concept of Transformers. The second one was kind of taking a lot of stuff from the comics. The third one took a lot of stuff from the cartoons. And then 4 and 5 just are like fever dreams from Michael Bay's brain.
Okay, that's the way to like them better, isn't it? Okay, I mean, I don't dislike them at all, to be honest, but yeah, fever dreams, that's the way to do it. Hey, Luke, I think we need to get into what this fever dream is. Can you do that for us?
Let's do it. Before time began, there was the Cube. We know not where it came from, only that it has the power to create worlds and fill them with life. In Qatar, which is in the Middle East by the way, an American army base is attacked by a transforming helicopter. Meanwhile, Sam Witwicky buys his first car. And what do you know? His car is a robot in disguise. This robot in disguise protects him from the cops, and then introduces him to some other robots in disguise, who tell him that they are looking for the Cube. Not called the Matrix, because people still thought of the Matrix movies at this point, but called the Allspark. Unfortunately, before Sam can find his grandfather's glasses, which will reveal the location of the Allspark, he's arrested by some lame men in black and taken to Hoover Dam, where they see Megatron and the Cube. Starscream turns up and Megatron is freed, and so the soldiers decide to take the Cube to the city. And then when they get to the city, they decide to take the Cube out of the city. But unfortunately, the helicopters are shot down, because all helicopters in action movies and video games will be shot down. Optimus urges Sam to put the Cube in his chest, but Sam puts the Cube in Megatron's chest. Finally, Optimus Prime sends a message to the stars inviting the Autobots to come and live on Earth, while Sam and Michaela have awkward makeout sessions on top of Sam's sentient robot car.
One story I left out, I think this is formative. This is long before the movie. This would have been 1985 or 1986 when my first grade cafeteria decided to serve fish, Jell-O, and milk all together. Not good for a 6-year-old.
Like as a meal?
Well, I mean, they were separated in the meal, right? But that was the meal. It was like Jell-O with fish with milk, which it's not a good connection. And I actually hurled like all over the middle of the cafeteria floor, which I guess should be more traumatic than I think it is. And my dad must have felt that way. So the only time I remember getting a Transformer, I had lots, but I guess he felt bad. So he got me Whirl, the Autobot helicopter. Not like that mean old helicopter you talked about in the synopsis.
Well, the good one. Yeah, my main one that I have a memory of getting was, I was a bit older. It was either just before or just after this film came out, and I really wanted the nice Masterpiece Optimus Prime for Christmas. So I put it on my Christmas list. My uncle was going to get it for me, but then we got to Christmas Day, and he's like, "Oh yeah, look, I wasn't sure if you were joking, so I've just got you the cash." And I was like, "No, I do really want that." And so the next day we went to Toys R Us to pick it up. And the whole time, my dad came along and he's like, "Really? Are you serious? Are you really going to spend all that money on a toy robot? Really? Really? You're gonna spend 50 quid on a toy robot at your age?" And the more he said that, the more convinced I was that yes, I am going to buy this toy robot.
Which age was that again?
Oh, like 18.
Okay. So,
you got a better deal there, because they keep doing Masterpiece Optimus Prime again, and I think the most recent version was like you have to give your arm over to be able to afford it or something like that. It costs a stupid amount of money for the
well, yeah,
for what you're getting, really.
Also, I think that my Masterpiece Optimus Prime is probably worth more now than £50 in cash is.
what did you buy last week? You Optimist last week.
Yeah, I got the Bumblebee Optimus. It's pretty nice, actually. I'm trying to resist buying Transformers here in Japan, because I've already got, like, a crate full in the UK, and I don't need a second collection here.
I probably have some busted up ones in a box in my parents' house, but I don't think we ever threw them out, so, yeah, that's kind of groovy. some vintage ones that are beat up and worth nothing now.
I don't know. You could get there's some you get some money from. World is much more popular now than it used to be. He's done some stuff with recent comics, so you probably get some money for World.
Yeah, I don't think anyone thought Whirl was cool when I was a kid, so. I had Jazz. He doesn't work out well in this movie, though.
I mean, I must admit, I was going to jump ahead to describe something at the end there, but that's...
Oh, that's fine. We don't really follow the plot.
Okay, I was just saying, it's my... I'm not a big fan of Hugo Weaving as Megatron, but I think he's a weak link in the film in terms of robots. But I do love the sheer stupidity of that. You want a piece of me? No, I want two.
I love that line. Well, yeah, I
just wrote, Weaving, but okay, the first actor is Weaving, which I think I got 80% through the movie. I was like, okay, I know this isn't like the right actor doing the voice. Who is it? Oh crap, it's Weaving. So the fun thing is I had already written the note, Megatron can smell his stink, the one in Sam's pants. And I was like, wait a minute, why did I write that? Oh, because it's Hugo Weaving, that's why.
He's actually an odd bit of casting because none of the other robots are played by, to do inverted air comma quotes, name actors. That's because more of a thing in the sequels, and he's really the only sort of big star name they've got in to do a voice. And he literally phoned it in. He was in Australia and he phoned up Michael Bay and said his lines down the phone. And it's okay, but it's I'm not sure why they bothered paying Hugo Weaving to do that.
Well, it's I guess with not having the right actors, Starscream certainly doesn't stand out here because they I guess they got him right once they got to Bumblebee, but here he's just there, and that's not a Decepticon that should just be there.
He's got a bit more of a role in 2 and 3.
Yeah, but this one in particular, because I don't know, that, Cobra Commander, all that, he's stuck in my mind, so when I got kind of a milquetoast Starscream here, the sequels definitely do him better. But yeah, he's phoning it in, because they added so much digital artifacting and stuff to his voice. You can watch the movie and still not quite figure out that you're listening to Hugo Weaving anyway.
In terms of casting, what took me by surprise was... because before the film came out, so these fan petitions to get Peter Cullen to do Optimus Prime, and there were rumours they were going to get a famous person to do it. They were going to get Tom Hanks was the main rumour. Whether that was something they ever looked into, or I guess they would have thought Tom Hanks would be nice at some point. But whether they actually approach him, I don't know. And of course, Tom Hanks would be a great Optimus Prime. And I was here, just don't get Peter Cullen. He's not played this role in 20 years. There are all sorts of rumours about why he hasn't played the role in 20 years that you'd hear in convention bars about how he doesn't like do violent things anymore. That was the main rumour you used to hear, whether he looks down on it now. And then you get Tom Hanks to do it. That'd be more fun. And of course, then you get that opening scene of the film where suddenly Peter Cullen comes on and goes, "Before time." And you go, Oh yeah, this is good. They got Peter Cullen is good as Optimus Prime, and it's good in a different way to how he was in the original cartoon, because 20 years ago his voice is that bit higher and more friendly. 2007, it's like 3 octaves deeper.
Yeah, he's aged into the role of Optimus Prime.
By the time you get to Bumblebee, it's another 4 octaves deeper, a decade, and it's really down here now. And I don't think he'd be able to do the next one because he's even lower at that point. I don't know how much he smokes in the average day, but there's a huge weight to his voice in this film, and it gives that opening narration weight, and that opening narration is just exposition. It's not too much exposition, it's just enough to say that
don't worry, Matt can mute that train that's just gone past him.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That was my train anyway.
I'm going back a bit to allow for seamless edit. That's opening narration, it's just exposition. But not too much exposition, it's just enough to say this is not going to be a film just about a kid and his car. There's something bigger here, there's a bigger mystery. But with that voice, it's interesting, and it's dramatic, and it is a brilliant opening. Just a guy saying, "Here is the MacGuffin we're going to be chasing." Well, no, it's not even here's the third MacGuffin in the film we're going to be chasing about in the third act. Hang around, it's going to get to some big shit later on.
Yeah, you just made me think, because my first thought, at some point when they replace them, they're just going to get a sound alike. But now it's like, which level of scotch and cigars are we looking for now? I guess this is the correct scotch and cigar balance. I do like the bumblebee, going towards death metal bellow. But yeah, this seems to be the right balance for Optimus.
Yeah,
he just gets more and more daddy.
You sound like a couple of more recent cartoons. I think, I guess because Cullen's quite old now, so he's not doing the shows anymore. To mixed results, from what I've heard, people don't seem to be impressed by somebody coming on and going, "I am Optimus Prime." It's not quite the same.
Well, I think the next move is a Beast Wars film and get Gary Chalk back.
Yeah,
that's what I'd go for.
I guess let's get to the people that actually do appear on screen briefly with LaBouffe.
Human characters.
LaBouffe.
Yeah, I like LaBouffe.
Glenn Morshower first, guys. Come on, give Glenn Morshower his deserved respects. The icon of film and television.
He's the famous person I'd like to meet, but I'd like to meet him in that weird performance art setting where you just go sit in a room with him for 5 minutes and he intensely stares at you and says nothing, and then you leave. I think that would be the way to meet him. He did that a few years ago, yeah.
Not Glenn Morshower?
It was an art installation, and people would pay to go in the museum, and they'd just go sit, and he'd stare at them intensely for a few minutes, saying nothing. That was.
I think Matt's still on LaBeouf.
Oh yeah.
Look, I love that they kill him in the first 5 minutes, and then he's still in all the sequels.
Well, the character in the sequels is just called Nick Morshower, yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting. You mentioned at the start that you see the cube and you learn this film is going to be bigger than just here's a kid in his first car. But I think what makes this first one resonate with people is that for the most part, it is just about a kid in his first car.
Yeah, but apparently that was Spielberg's call. That was the first thing he said when DreamWorks got rights about what the film should be. And you had all the fans going, "Oh, it should." That's not what you should do. That's not what Transformers is. Transformers is all the big fighting and killing. And of course, it turned out to be exactly the right call because there's a relatability there. Even though I don't think in Britain we have that first car association as much as Americans do. We've seen enough American movies where that's a thing to sort of still get it and get what it means as a rite of passage and relate that to our own experiences.
But yeah, like I said, this film for me was right at the time where I felt like, okay, this is the end of my childhood, and I went into adulthood, and so the film's themes, even though in the UK I didn't get my first car till my 20s because it's not as cheap as it is in America. It felt like, yeah, this is the coming of age and stuff like that.
It was you came into Transformers as a kid and left Iron Man as a man, or was it the other way around?
No, the other way around is, yeah. Because this film came out the same year as Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3, that's the one that you mentioned, because we just said Spider-Man.
Like I said, in my head, those films are 10 years apart.
Yeah. I know, we mentioned Iron Man, it is always worth remembering that this film is before Iron Man, it's before the MCU stuff, and in terms of the effects work, it's absolutely groundbreaking. It paved the way from the MCU.
We'll get onto this. Yeah. We'll get into this in a minute after the characters, but this film basically defined modern cinema. People don't like to admit it, but this is a hugely influential film.
Yeah, I forgot that Spielberg had produced it. That was a big deal when it came out, I know, but is he still on with this? How long did Spielberg stick around as a producer?
He's still on producing them. How much he ever really did? The last thing, definitely no.
It definitely feels like he was involved in this one.
But the last thing I definitely know that he contributed was sacking Megan Fox after the third one. After the first time, which was apparently entirely down to him. But
Wasn't it because she called Michael Bay Hitler?
yeah, Michael Bay
like that.
didn't mind that, apparently. I think you all know Michael Bay is apparently a bit of a dick to work for, but he's not bothered if people think he's a bit of a dick. He just rolls off it, but Spielberg was offended by that, yeah.
I was about to say, do we actually talk about Megan Fox? But we did a little bit. That seems reasonable, I guess.
To be honest, people give her this rap as just like, oh, she's just there as eye candy, but she does a good job in the two films she's in. She has way more autonomy in these films than Sam does.
Yeah, I honestly don't have a problem myself, but I know that the reputation is a little bit on the man. I feel like I haven't seen her in quite a while either. So
It was interesting. A few years ago, she was going to do the London Comic Con, but I was going to it to go and meet her. She pulled out of it in the end, but when she was going, so many young women who would have been young teenagers when this came out, they said to me, "Oh, tell Megan Fox I love her." So she definitely did have
cool.
big impact. So not just from Transformers, she's sort of done a lot of very positive stuff personally in real life since, in terms of raising her kids in a pro, I don't think the right words, a positive environment. You know, she lets them be who they want to be and dress how they like, and so she's actually tends to be quite well respected by plenty of that generation of women now. They look up to her quite a bit, and I think she's actually very good in this film. Because it's always, what this film is to me, it's almost like Big Trouble in Little China, where in that film, the joke is Kurt Russell is your traditional, the guy who should be the hero, but he's not. He's a comedy sidekick. And that's what Sam is in this film. He is a comedy sidekick to Megan Fox's dramatic hero. He's a prat who falls around. He needs to be rescued by her at least twice over the course of this film, and a couple more times in the second one. He's a damsel in distress, and who's stuck with the Transformers. She's the one who actively chooses to get involved to help him, and does all the more usual hero stuff, apart from what if I killed Megatron rather than Optimus bit at the end? That's sort of his big one moment of proper heroics, but otherwise it is.
So, one thing I noticed watching it last night, which I hadn't really noticed for the first time, basically, every main character gets to kill a Decepticon.
oh right,
So Megan Fox kills Frenzy, Optimus Prime kills Bone Crusher, Bumblebee kills Devastator, Lennox kills Blackout, and then Sam kills Megatron.
so much death.
But I just like they nicely pass all them out. Each main character gets to kill one each.
Yeah, and
Which is tighter plotting than you usually give these films credit for. But going back to Megan Fox briefly, I think I stole this point from you, but I've used it a couple times in the past. People often complain about the third film in that the new female character is just a damsel in distress throughout that film. But had it been Megan Fox and Michaela, and this had been her third film after, for the previous two, she's the one saving Sam, it wouldn't have felt so egregious. It would have just been an appropriate, like, finally he's sort of the one who's involved and who wants to help, and he's saving her, rather than just this character exists to be saved by the man.
So the third one, I really like the third one, but the character of Carly definitely suffers from the fact that that was a script written for Megan Fox, but they maybe changed 2 lines in that script. So one of them was a line explaining that she's English. Otherwise, not a single thing changed.
Yeah, to be honest, the third one is probably my favourite of these.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the one where I really started keying in. The first two, it's like, well, they're selling me my childhood. I guess I'll buy a movie ticket for it. Where the third one, where it's like, yeah, I'm really into this. The third's kind of just I mean, we got the boy in his car thing in here, but otherwise, the third one is kind of like the first one, just amped up to 11.
It's I kind of forget with the sequels actually, because fandom sort of likes the first one, but it really doesn't like any of the others. The Transformers fandom, and yeah, that's fair enough. People like different things and want different things from the films. I think the films did exactly what they set out to do in terms of popular appeal. But that means because I'm in the fandom, if I haven't watched it for this, when I come back to watch Dark of the Moon, I'll go, oh, you know what? This is actually really good. It's much better than I remember, because when I'm not watching it, all I hear about is how bad it is. There's actually a huge amount of fun with the third one, and I like the second one as well. I know that's one of the first three that people don't really like at all, but I think there's a lot of good stuff in that. It just needs a tighten up.
For my money, the second one has the best action scene in the series, possibly in films, for my money. The fight in the forest in the middle there. And it has the best gag in the series. But it's just, as a film, a bit disjointed and weirdly paced and that sort of thing.
Yeah, when I saw it in the theater, I definitely didn't like it, and I didn't watch it for like 12 years after. But same thing with Mission Impossible 2, actually. And then I came back to them like much more recently and like loved them, because I could just appreciate how entertainingly stupid both of them were.
So I'm surprised to hear you didn't like it, Matt, when it's all about like weird pyramid conspiracies.
Well, when I saw it in the theater, I wasn't into that, and now I am. So I mean, I like the Egyptian stuff, but yeah, definitely that might have helped as well. So I'm gonna give us a little break here, and then I guess we'll get into the design. Okay, let's get into the design and that sort of thing. We already sort of said, but yeah, this is pretty much the template for the modern blockbuster, the fight in the city, noises that was in every movie for 5 years. This movie borrows some sounds more than I remembered. It like straight up has the Terminator theme a few times. That was weird.
Yeah, I forgot about when I watched it last week. Where it's just going for do, and I actually sat through all of the end credits to see if there was a proper Terminator theme from, and there isn't. So presumably that just is very close.
Yeah, it's never quite the Terminator theme, but it's definitely the same vibe.
It's legally different.
I also like that there's a sound that they use several times that is directly between the Star Trek the Motion Picture down V'ger sound and the Inception wow. It's like right halfway between those two, so I just found that entertaining.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, I remember the big one that made me realise was the first Avengers film, where it's just like, oh, they're just fighting the Decepticons in this film.
Yeah.
The whole end act of that film is basically the same as Dark of the Moon from the year before.
Well, there was a 5-year period where every blockbuster, the third act was just Dark of the Moon.
Yeah, what's the other one I get confused? Is it Winter Soldier? It has a big airship. Yeah, I guess it's in the airship.
Oh yeah, that has the airship bit.
Yeah,
and then Man of Steel has a city fight with a big beam in the sky.
That one,
I'm sure there's plenty of others which have a big city fight with a beam in the sky.
I'm thinking of the airship thing where I just completely confused Dark of the Moon with Winter Soldier with the other one that was in our triumvirate there.
Avengers.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they've all got a big space whale and it smashes into some buildings.
I mean, it's all the same people working on these films. certainly the Avengers, anyway. It's all ILM. They worked on these films very closely together. It's pretty much inevitably that they would just go, fucking, I've got to do another Sci-Fi, so I'll just do that thing that worked last year again.
Yeah, I guess that's this is a case where in that case the ILM CGI it doesn't necessarily inspire me, but if those guys had been like compelled to build models, and this film would never have happened if they had to build models, but I could see a lot more variance there. You got a few years, or here just like, okay, pull up the file, let's use it again, tweak it a bit.
Well, I will say, people often complain about the very indistinct and generic Transformers designs in these films, but the 5 main Autobots in this film look great. Like, they're very distinct. They, like, are reminiscent, if not of the cartoon characters, and at least they have a very distinct character. They're, like, brightly coloured. And maybe in the sequels, when they start throwing in more and more Autobots, a few of them are more generic. And, of course, a lot of the Decepticons are very indistinct grey blobs. But I think, like, Optimus, Ratchet, Bumblebee, Ironhide, you look at those guys, you know exactly who you're looking at in these films.
And they might look a little janky here, but I think one of the selling points when this came out was, we designed these models where like all these parts would actually transform properly. So I think that has something to do with it too. By the time we get to Bumblebee, they're just trying to make them look like the cartoon, which honestly is cool with me. But I appreciate that. Let's try and make these things practical as well.
Well, it's much easier for me to look at a real car and see it in my head transforming like they do in this film, than to look at a real car and see it like chunk, chunk, chunk into six parts like the toys do.
To be fair, I think Bumblebee had a much lower budget. That was like what they were going to knock out cheaply. Because
but that's why there's like 4 minutes of Transformers in the whole film.
You don't want to be too negative about Bumblebee. People will come for you. I've discovered that. But
Yeah, we're definitely getting you on if we do a Bumblebee episode.
But I like to say nice things.
I mean, I'm sure for 2 and 3, Matt's going to find me some Egypt guy and some Moon guy to come on.
Yeah.
But as you say, I love the Autobots. They all look great, and I like what they do with the Decepticons in this one as well, because the Decepticons are not supposed to be distinct, that distinct as characters. They are big, scary monsters. They're meant to scare the shit out of you, but I think it works out. I love the Starscream design. I like how wide he is, and he's got that terrifying mouth, and I think just about Blackout looks great. Barricade, evil American cop. There's something that never gets old.
One thing I remember, for those of us who are like big Transformers fans already, of course, the ones we remember are the ones whose names we recognize, like Megatron, Starscream, etc. But I remember when Dark of the Moon came out, I was reading one of the reviews in one of the magazines, and they mentioned like, oh yeah, Shockwave is the most menacing Transformer since Blackout. Because for people who just know these films, that one made a huge impression. That first scene where it destroys the army base, and it comes back at the end, and everyone's like, oh shit, here's this guy. Like, Blackout was a big deal for normies.
What's the really tiny one? Because I just kept listing him in my notes as Little Asshole.
Oh, Frenzy.
Oh, okay, Frenzy, there. See, you say that, I'm like, oh yes, okay, I got it. He was a bird, though, back in the day. Yeah.
No, Laserbeak was the bird, but Frenzy was one of the cassettes.
Okay, it was another one of the cassettes. Okay. See, yeah.
Well, because multiple characters in this film were originally supposed to be Soundwave, and they kept chickening out. So I think in one version, the helicopter was Soundwave, and that's why he has a little one that comes out of him. And then the police car was Soundwave, and that's why he has Frenzy. But they ended up not calling either of them Soundwave in the finished film.
I've only seen Bumblebee once, but I definitely was like, it's Soundwave. Like I'm not going to geek out about Transformers as far as maybe you guys might, but in that case, I was just like, that's Soundwave, how he's supposed to look and all that sort of stuff. So it made me happy. I did see the second one. When I did see it in the theater, though, I can't recognize. I guess I recognized all the Autobots when I first saw this, but the second one I had like a 7-year-old, like 3 seats down, just shouting out the name of everyone that came on screen. So that was actually kind of helpful.
As long as you get it right, of course.
Well, yeah, he might have got something wrong. He seemed legit. I trusted him.
I'd love it if he was just doing that thing that like everyone's mum did, where just for every Transformer he's going, Optimus Prime! And the next one shows up, Optimus Prime!
No, he had a good litany of names. He sounded legit.
Name all the primes in Sam's vision of there's like 8 of them. That's the prime played by Michael York. That's the prime played by Byron from Babylon 5. With Frenzy, bring him up. What I like about this film as well is that there's a variety of different types of action scenes. So, like, you get the big chopper attack, then you get a comedy sequence with Frenzy, which is basically played for laughs. I just love a bit where he hides behind his own hand when he's going past the police.
Yeah, it's such great animation.
Yeah, and the American president being played as an idiot who has to be got rid of and put in his bunker away from harm. Because so you do anything up.
It's so funny to look back on when we thought George W. Bush was as bad as it got.
And it's interesting because people talk about the pro-military stuff of these films, but I think they tend to be a little bit more cynical. And I think Michael Bay perhaps plays the military a bit more. So obviously in this one, the president is an idiot.
When you see military in American films, especially when there's like real equipment, that means the military is funding part of this, and you know they're in and asking for certain things.
There are definitely scenes where this film was so horny for the military.
Right.
The first time both times they call in an airstrike, and it's like showing all these guys in the comms room, and there's this heroic music playing, and it's like, yeah, God bless America, we have this huge operation for bombing brown people from the skies.
Right?
Yeah,
the majority of the Decepticons all turn into American military vehicles. And but Michael Bay convinced the military to let them do that by convincing them it was cool to be Decepticons. Which...
What? Schwarzenegger knew it was cool to be the baddie.
Yeah, it's cool. These guys are cool. You'll like me, these guys. Suckers.
Yeah, these films are never quite as pro-military as people think. Like, in this one, it's very pro-ground-level soldiers, but the top brass are all made out to be idiots.
But by the fourth one... The
fourth one is very pro the Chinese army.
The fourth one's about American CIA death squads. There's definite cynicism.
By the fourth and fifth one, the army are straight up the bad guys.
I think they need to be in a Transformers movie. Because, yeah, when there's that time where they got, like, the Autobots are, like, the secret defense of the military. That's, nah. Your heroes need to be on the run to make things really effective.
It's also, when people talk about military stuff, but Transformers is a military franchise. It's about two armies. So there's always going to be a degree of pro-military stuff in there, because Optimus Prime is a military dictator.
Yeah, I guess if anything bugged me in this one, it was maybe in the idea of that military base. Maybe that's what... I liked this movie when I saw it, but something didn't sit well. And I guess it's cool that the Autobots are in a pretty despondent position in this movie, but I just feel like you need an arc.
I do like, though... they made a conscious decision in this film, which they kind of go back on in the sequels, so that, like, well, these guys are transforming robots, so they don't need a spaceship. They are the spaceship. They don't need to hold guns. They can transform the guns. And that was, like, a whole thing in this one, and it makes for a very, like, cool and unique design. But I can't remember by the second, but by the third one, yeah, they are flying around in spaceships. Optimus is holding weapons, and they basically thrown out that design principle. But in the first one, yeah, it's a smart little bit of design.
Speaking of which, that's also just Megatron. I wanted him to actually transform into a giant flying Magnum.
See, I actually think it's really smart that Megatron doesn't take on any Earth form. He stays alien, because, like, Megatron doesn't want to turn into some crappy human thing.
That's not a crappy human thing, like a 50-foot long giant Magnum that flies, man.
Actually, it's a Wolfer PPK.
No. See, you were trying to... Well, actually, Luke, it's a Wolfer P38. It's the Man from U.N.C.L.E. gun, not the James Bond gun.
Oh, well, there we go. We know who the gun pervert on this podcast
I'm
is.
watching The Man from U.N.C.L.E. at the moment. For people listening who don't know, the original Megatron toy is based... before it was a Transformer, it was basically a Man from U.N.C.L.E. toy. An unofficial one. But it turns into a Man from U.N.C.L.E. gun, including, like the fusion cannon and that. All of those are accessories that were made for the Man from U.N.C.L.E. gun in that TV show, none of which are real accessories. You can't shoot the gun with them. They were just built for the show to make the gun look cooler. So all that stuff Megatron has, it's an unofficial knockoff Man from U.N.C.L.E. toy, the original Megatron. So never feel bad by knockoff Transformers toys, because that's how they started.
Well, there's my loophole. Megatron hates humans. He hates human things, but he loves the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
He was pissed off by the film, and that's why he's on his outpouring of rage.
They had to chill him down.
See, I'm going to annoy you because I quite enjoyed that film.
Is the Megatron good in the film? I think that would piss him off if they left him out.
I don't actually remember. I saw it once when my parents were watching it. I didn't sit down and watch it, but
No, so I've gone off on an unsquated about my uncle. Sorry, so what were we saying before that on the actual topic?
we're talking about the army. Hoorah!
That's why we're talking guns. Guns in the army. That's what we do today.
But I really like Lennox, actually. I think he's a good, fun character. And the fight with Scorponok in the desert is great as well. That's another different sort of action scene when he's coming out from the sand behind them. That's very well done.
It's like late 40s war movie vibe.
Well, the only human characters that sort of fail for me is the hacker subplot, which is so...
I always completely forget that there... I watched this film literally last night, and until you said it, I'd forgot the hacker subplot exists.
It didn't even make your synopsis. And that's definitely something where they're like...
I'd meant to write in my synopsis a line at the end like, oh yeah, and some hackers are there.
That's definitely...
Because they're so inconsequential.
Yeah, that's definitely we're not sure we could pull off robots. We need some extended sequences completely separate from robots we can cut to just in case they're awful stuff.
Well, yeah, they throw that in there. They have a load of Secretary of Defense stuff. And all of this is cut in the sequels because they realise that you can just concentrate on, a couple of humans and their robot friends. You don't need so much extraneous stuff.
Oh man, I'm just talking about things you forget every time after watching this. I just, and there's another train. Okay. Anyway, things you forget. Gary Cole gets one scene as the bad cop. Gary Cole was the dad in Talladega Nights. He was in the Brady Bunch movie. He's in everything. He's great. Office Space.
Gary Cole, right?
Yeah, well, the beard, I don't really recognise him.
I just wrote...
Can I say it, yeah?
Yeah, Gary Cole's the man, doing some pain pills, making things happen.
Well, all these films have these random little comedy bit parts, but they actually all work for the most part.
John Turturro?
Oh, he's great.
Well, I was building for that because he's the one bit of the cast we haven't mentioned yet who is legit really
Before
good.
you get to him, man, I'll just say the tiny one that always gets me with this one. There are others in the sequels. The small one that always gets me with this one is Andrew, the geek from Buffy, just sat next to the Australian woman, having two lines. Tom Legge, you were clearly thinking you were going to be somewhere at some point. I was the big bad in one season of Buffy, and now I'm in a Transformers film saying two lines. Bang! This is going to be the start of something good for me. And then he was never seen again.
How many Transformers films did Tyrese Gibson actually end up in? Because he's in several.
3. He's in all 3 of the original,
and then he's
Shia LaBeouf trilogy.
Okay, gotcha. Because I remember
he's not in 4 or 5, but Lennox does come back in 5.
Okay, it's just funny how.
Oh, sorry, let's say Lennox comes back in 5 because they realised how awful the human characters were in 4. So shit, we've got to bring some of the old ones back.
I mean, I know Mark Wahlberg is a terrible human being, but I find him very entertaining to watch.
Do you know?
Yeah.
You said you're going to check up on that. Did you check up on that? When we did Planet of the
Oh,
Apes?
I still haven't found. Well, I still haven't. No, I forgot.
Oh, one nice. This isn't a callback. This is like a reverse back. Several times in this movie, I know I told Luke before I wasn't super into the last night, but the one thing I really loved was the tiny singing robot, and I felt like he was just off in the wings in several scenes of this movie, especially the Megatron Frozen scenes. You hear a lot of that. Oh,
Yeah.
So yeah, in my mind now, I'm like,
Don't worry, Matt. You are among Cogman fans.
Oh yeah, I mean, the problem with the sequels is, but because they add all this reverse mythology onto things further back in time, it turns out during this film there were hundreds of Autobots on Earth just hanging about, not getting involved. So like Cool Hot Rod and his magic time gun and Cogman have them sort some shit out. Jazz might have
Jesus
lived.
fucking Christ! Beep 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 beep. Breaking news. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg is a real piece of shit.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
I'm just on the Wikipedia subheading hate crimes.
That's not a
In
good
June
start.
1986, Wahlberg and three friends chased after three black children whilst yelling, "Kill the N-word, kill the N-word," and throwing rocks at them.
okay, there's our confirmation. So got it.
And then there's just a list every year of him just attacking and beating up and bullying other
Yeah,
ethnicities.
that's why I would say it was a bad idea in Age of Extinction to have quite a lengthy scene of him chasing a black woman about with a baseball bat. That wasn't a sensible move on somebody's part. Whoever thought, let's do that. Let's have a wacky little callback to his eccentric past.
Wake up in a dream, ringing the gong, it may seem and grow younger while get old. A true believer would told just what's inside my head, just what's inside my head. Float in the sea of forever, distilled what you find there. Everything is really real if you remember it's just air. Chips of obsidian, eyes of fire, eyes forever, refusing to buy what's sold. All that glitters is not gold.
Anyway, one really good thing about the movie we're talking about today, Mark Wahlberg's not in it, so we don't have to dwell on it too much.
What's the worst thing
I just thought it was.
Shia LaBeouf ever did?
It was. I mean, he's just a bit wacky. I love Shia
He
LaBeouf.
may have had sex on screen in a movie for real. That's positively charming compared to Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, that's good. I'd high five him for
I
that.
don't think you want to get into movies.
I've already gotten to my performance art thing.
Stuart, you were there
Well, I wasn't there,
while I
no.
went. You were there when I went a bit further than sensible, trying to win a signed Shia LaBeouf photo in an auction.
Go on.
Well,
This was at the Transformers convention. They do charity auctions, and one of the items was a Shia LaBeouf photo. And no one was that into it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take that." And then some other dweeb across the room got into a bidding war with me, and eventually it climbed up to £80, and I'm like, I don't want it that much, so I let it go. But I would totally have bought
what I
it.
like about Shia LaBeouf, when his eccentricity is, in that film where he had possibly, I don't even know if it was confirmed, whether it was just a publicity stunt, where he may have had actual on-screen sex. And that was supposed to be the talking points. He stole the talking points by turning up to the premiere with a bag on his head. And made it about that instead. And that's some skill to divert attention away from the having sex on screen thing with a paper bag. All respect to him.
Well, the only thing that people genuinely disliked LaBeouf for was when, Indiana Jones 4 tried to pivot to being about LaBeouf. But even he said that was shit.
Yeah, you gotta blame that one on
You can't
Spielberg
blame
and
that one on
Lucas.
him. He was not up for it. Yep.
But I mean, at least he's probably too old to be in Indiana Jones 5. Because that's not going to be happening for another 10 years anyway.
Well, yeah, he wouldn't be the kid anymore.
They could just call it old Indiana Jones, since they already had young Indiana Jones.
I saw something online suggesting the other day that, and I could see this actually happening because it'll be in the 70s, by the time Indiana Jones 5 does happen, at least the early 70s, it'll end with him meeting young Steven Spielberg and young George Lucas and buying rights to his life.
That sounds like exactly the sort of lame shit they would do.
I put here that just with our LaBouffe that Witwicky, watching it last night really came through that Witwicky is basically a teenage Woody Allen.
Oh dear God, no! Oh.
What?
I mean, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not talking reputation. I'm talking an on-screen vibe.
But this isn't the film where the guy has to get the "I'm not a paedophile" card out. That was the fourth one.
No. Yeah, I'm talking 70s Woody Allen, like on screen. Like I just felt like that was a reference point or something. Because in 2007, he'd still get away with that.
There's that like that nervous comedy energy is definitely the thing he brings to these films.
Yeah.
And if you watch a lot of the extended stuff and the deleted stuff on the DVDs, like LaBeouf is ad-libbing through all of these scenes, and he's a really funny guy. Like Shia LaBeouf comes from doing stand-up at the age of 12. And also, he just about looks like maybe he could be in school. More so than some films. But he still looks a bit...
More so than some of the other teenagers. What?
Well, yeah, like the Trent guy that Michaela's with at the start. He's like, there's no way that guy is in high school. You can't lift that many weights by the time you leave high school.
The great thing about him is that character, still in high school, is in the Friday the 13th remake.
I think you mentioned that, yeah.
he gets to say the most brilliantly bad line during a sex scene ever. It's, "You have stupendous tits." It might be amazing rather than stupendous, but it's.
I can one up that just a bit.
I hope it's stupendous.
I can one up that bit. It's a good line. Don't get me wrong. The best one ever is Night of the Demons. 1989, 1990. Anyways, the Jock's line in that movie, his insult is, "Eat a bowl of fuck." That's always.
All right. Well, if we're on awkward lines in the bedroom. So the girl I was going to take to see Transformers 1, we eventually ended up dating, and between us we were giggling at the fact that Shia LaBeouf's name means "thank God for the beef." And I lost my virginity to this girl. And afterwards there was a bit of an awkward silence, and she just says, "Shia LaBeouf."
You're welcome.
And you were hoping she meant "thank God for the beef," rather that was who she was thinking about.
Yeah, she had her eyes closed and was thinking of... I mean, if you got to think about Shia LaBeouf, I get it. He's a handsome man. Just not in profile. But, you know, I get that. I look great from the front and terrible from the side.
Getting on that, Sam, I will go to Sam instead of the actor's name. He doesn't get turned on when he finds out that Megan Fox is a criminal. I don't remember her character's name, but like Sam doesn't find
Michaela Baines.
Which is everyone just pointed out. Michaela Barnes is a few letters moving about version of Michael Bay. So if you want to know who his actual avatar of the film is,
that's slightly creepy. Okay, is that why he's Hitler? I don't know.
The not even worse thing Hitler was name a character in a film after himself.
There was a bit in one of the commentaries where you'd seen where Michaela has to kill Frenzy with the drill, where Michael Bay was just talking about he wanted her to be really angry, so he just kept making her do the scene over and over and over in an attempt to piss her off. So I can see why she didn't like working.
Yeah, I think probably Bay is he's a technical director. So he's getting the technique is what is important. He's not the only director like that. I mean, Stanley Kubrick used to direct like that. He was a bit of an arsehole as well about it. Well, but he's more focused on that side of thing than the actors' performances. And this is where the sexism comes in, because with the men, most of them are played by personality type actors who know they roll up, they do their thing. They don't really need much direction. You know, you just put Shia LaBeouf on the set. who's going to do his Sheila Booth thing, and you film it, and you don't have to worry about it. Megan Fox, from interviews of that, wanted to be directed. He's cast her because she's good looking. She's there to be hot. It's a modelling job rather than an acting job in his viewpoints. So she's there, could I get some direction in this bit? He's not being much help. The best you can do is, rather than say, you've got to be really angry, is just making him a scene over and over again until that's what he gets. And that's, luckily, he got somebody who actually pulls off the acting side of this one, but that's why you get some incredibly variable performances from the women in the sequels. Not necessarily because they're bad actresses. I mean, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley did Fury Road, and is pretty good in that. It's because she
was literally hired from a Victoria's Secret catalog,
she hadn't any acting
right?
at that point, and she's getting no help on acting from her director when she needed it. In a way that, John Malkovich doesn't need to be directed. So,
well, I mean, even with some of the male cast, you do notice, like, John Voight in this, who is, like, a pretty well-respected actor. He's very flat in this film. He's pretty forgettable.
I think he's done a lot of cocaine. I think they're most of his film he's definitely on.
That's how they paid him for this one.
Any actor of that age has done a lot of cocaine.
I'm not even sure he knows he's in a Transformers film, to be honest. I think he just wandered onto the set.
He thought he'd been hired as Secretary of Defense.
He thought this was Midnight Cowboy too.
But talking about Michael Bay as a very technical director, that's why the effects in these films do look so good. Michael Bay's past was in car commercials, and he's talked about how they would show him the effects, and he'd talk about how oh no, that's not really how the lighting works when you're filming a car. And he complained, he did get very involved in the effects side of it. It wasn't like some of these Marvel directors where it's right, we'll shoot the actors and then they can just do whatever they want to do in post. And that's why you end up with some like those we talked about earlier, the Avengers aliens. They're so generic because I don't think anyone outside of ILM gave a shit. Whereas Michael Bay was very involved in these designs and everything. He directed these films from top to bottom, and everything except the robots is in front of a camera. Most of that carnage is actually happening.
It's I think the editing on this one is very key as well. I haven't bothered to look at my names, unfortunately, because I'm too lazy. But this film had 2 editors. The 5th film had 5 editors. And this is by far the best. The people who edited this one, and I don't think they worked on the sequels, unfortunately. They certainly didn't work on the 5th one because I did check the names. These editors get how to edit Michael Bay to its best effects.
I think that's true all through the first 3. I think it really starts to come unstuck in 4 and 5.
Yeah, it's
because you end up with films that don't even have plots by those 2.
Because again, people complain about the frantic editing, and maybe because it's 13 years old now, I don't think you felt that frantic rewatching it.
No. Compared to these Liam Neeson films where it takes 10 cuts for him to jump over a fence and stuff like that. This film is shot a little frantically, but it's just in a way that feels like you're on the ground watching military footage.
Yeah, that's an intentional technique to say before. It works well. I could follow all of it, which is again something people say you can't do, and I've never understood my complaints, especially about this one. So the editing deserves a big shout out because it really helps and meshes well with May's direction.
Where was I? Oh yeah, I guess the story is clunky. The one thing that I guess this was the most expensive film ever when it came out, but something, I don't know, there's a bit of clunk in the story. I guess it's because it goes from sitcom to war movie to, the modern blockbuster, and just has a little bit of whiplash. The editing is fine, but the script itself has a little whiplash.
Well, that's why we have that hacker section. They weren't quite sure what they could get away with this one.
I'm surprised this was the most expensive film ever made at the time. I hadn't realised that. And they had to reuse a vehicle from Triple X.
I think Superman Returns was more expensive.
Was it? Okay, I seem to remember that being a selling point.
Superman Returns was ridiculous.
But I think Superman Returns, it was one of those Star Trek motion picture things where the budget was all the unmade films that they spent.
Well, yeah, that might be part of it.
Went against it.
I would be surprised if you're right about that, Matt, because I feel like this film, they was a bit unsure about it when it first came out.
Yeah, but you did have that Spielberg
for the first time ever on this podcast, I'm going to bother to check.
Well, very excited. I know who's the tank one? It's Devastator. Or Brawl, if you go by the toy. That tank is from Triple X. They just grabbed one out of the Paramount parking lot. Which, while Luke's checking that, I would tell one of my current obsessions, because at the moment I am rewatching the Friday the 13th films as well. And the 6th Friday the 13th film, which is also a Paramount film, has a Camaro that's exactly the same type as Bumblebee in this film. They're both Paramount films. This film uses vehicles from other Paramount films anyway, and you'd have to get an old Camaro from somewhere. So I'm like, I'm more obsessed about whether that is in Friday the 13th Part 6 is the same Camaro as plays Bumblebee in the 2007 Transformers film, just painted yellow. So if there are any car fans out there who know the history of that car, I'd be very interested to know that.
Yeah, I was one of the guys that really wanted Bumblebee to be a VW Bug, but that's because I drove a VW Bug when this came out.
So Matt, yeah, it's not even in like the top 50.
Well, now it's...
And that's unadjusted for inflation.
Okay.
No, there's loads from before.
Okay. Maybe, yeah.
A couple of the sequels get in
That
there.
might be what I'm thinking of. I know one of them. Maybe it was Dark of the Moon that I'm thinking of, but yeah.
Well, no, Dark of the Moon was the one that made the most money.
Oh, okay.
And even the fourth one, which people think of as not doing well, was the highest grossing film the year it came out. Like, these films are popular. People like them.
There are people online who try and make a thing of, nobody really likes them. People somehow get tricked into going to them, but everybody sort of actually hates them. But some of the arguments that I've seen, but nobody actually likes them at all, is what people say. But the first...
Right, but people went and saw five of them.
More people went to see Revenge of the Fallen than saw this one. More people went to see Dark of the Moon than saw Revenge of the Fallen. Slight dip off from Age of Extinction, but still $1 billion worth of people went to see the fourth one. And it's only then you start to get a drop off. And the next two still made money, except in the eyes of Paramount, because of their technical logistics. I think the thing with the fifth one is it costs too much money, so it didn't make enough for them.
Yeah,
which is why Bumblebee costs so much less to make. And they're sort of odd about Bumblebee, but they say it was like a steady hit, but maybe very slowly do the seventh one, and maybe sort of very indecisive. So I don't think it did the money they wanted it to. Even though again they were both still successful films, so it's, people kept going back in bigger numbers, and nobody went to see Dark of the Moon because they hated Revenge of the Fallen, apart from die-hard Transformers fans. So they like them, yeah, they enjoy them as ridiculous big screen popcorn nonsense in an era where cinema tickets are very expensive. So if you're going to go to the cinema, it's generally got to have some big oomph to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate these films, but it was definitely like Pavlovian response that drove me into the theater for the first four of them. It's like, oh, Transformers, that is made for me, I will go see it.
Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Lily Pankhurst, Mum Shell, Interpretive Dancing, Angel Girl, Freddie Mercury, Kurt Cobain, Kaladin, Mkwajalain, Winona Ryder, Francis Farmer, Jim Mars, and Bill Cooper.
Luke, sorry, you were going to go on about John Turturro, or however you say his surname, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I did. I haven't. Yeah. So actually, he's the character who appears in the most Transformers films. Human character, anyway, because he has a little brief cameo in Bumblebee, and he's in the 5th one. But yeah, Agent Simmons, just hilarious performance.
Yeah.
And so, like, we were talking about how this film is kind of anti-government. They have, like, their shady Men in Black organization, but it's not S.H.I.E.L.D. They're never cool. And, like, Agent Simmons is such a dick. You're so happy every time he gets put in his place. But then by the time he's coming back in the sequels, you just love him. Just John Turturro is so entertaining to watch.
He's like Homer Simpson, where it's like, he gets dumber each season, right? So, Agent Simmons gets dumber each movie. More funnier too, but
yeah, he's absolutely great. It's like there's not a lot I can say about him because he's just so good in this role.
He comes into the film at pretty much exactly the right point as well, to give it that little extra bit of freshness. And because this film's not especially shorter than the other ones. I think maybe it's just 10 minutes in it. But it feels a lot shorter, I think, because the pacing is keeping things moving and introducing new ideas and new characters at exactly the right points to stop it feeling languid at any point, even though it is a very long film. And he comes along and with his new exposition about Megatron. So he's basically a functioning plot character to come in, introduce him into Jeopardy and explain things. But he does it brilliantly, because it's funny. You still get the information you need from his performance. And you get a couple of good sequences out of him as well. Great character, fun character.
Also, I just want to, while we're bringing up things we forgot to mention, before he comes in, but around the middle of the film, we have the scene where the Autobots first, properly arrive, which is just one of my favourite pieces of any film ever. I love the music in these films. It's not, super original, but it's just really well done. But, you have, exciting action music, you have patriotic military music, and then you just have that amazing theme tune for the Autobots. And ba 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 ba. And the scene where they're all landing and that music's playing, I've watched that on YouTube a billion times. That I bought all the soundtracks for all the Transformers films on CD, and I listened to that song in particular a lot. And it's only ruined by that stupid comedy character running around going, "Oh my god, this is even better than Armageddon."
Is that on the CD?
No, thank God.
There you go.
And there are YouTube cuts where they've taken out the sound and just have the music, and I like to watch those versions.
But there is that. I mean, there's that. The biggest controversy of this film, is about the music too.
Right. It's no Transformers theme.
Oh, that doesn't bother me. It's Stan Bush was going to make the touch.
The touch?
There's no touch,
yes.
man. I don't care about the Transformers theme. I want the touch.
For each of these films, some band tried to push their version of the Transformers film, and maybe it made it onto the soundtrack CD, but it never made it into the film. And also, Stan Bush would always try and push his new version of the touch, and that wouldn't even make it onto the CD. Never mind the film.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on YouTube anymore, but because he realised it was terrible. But there was a version of the touch he did off his own back to try and sell for the second film, but has Linkin Park melodies through it because he's trying to be cool. And he looks.
It's still there. I showed it to Matt when we did the 1986 film.
And
it's horrendous.
He looks like a child molester hanging around the park. There's a funny German guy on guitar who looks like Clive Anderson, and there's the Uri Geller rapper. And God bless Sam Bush. I love the 86 film. It's wired into my soul, and I enjoy the soundtrack, but it would have been insane to put his music in films like Linkin Park. I have a song for.
There's got to be a YouTube cut where they have the Megatron and Optimus brawling at the end of this film with a redubbed with like the original touch. That would be fantastic. Must be on YouTube somewhere.
No, but I want to see it redubbed with the crap new The Touch, where he's forgotten that you can regulate your tone when you're singing. So it's just you got the touch, you got the power.
The least realistic thing in Bumblebee is a bit where they pick up a touch on a radio station.
I actually thought that was well done.
But it was a complete
He used it to
flop.
encourage her.
There were
That was a
no
nice
radio
scene.
stations playing that song in 1987.
But he also had the stuff. Presumably, he also had the stuff from the tapes saved on his.
Nobody
she just had it on
bought
tape.
it. It was a complete disaster. That's why Stan Bush has spent the last 30 years desperately clinging on to the coattails of a flop cartoon from 1986.
But he has a song, man.
I got this one song that 8 nerds really, really love. I will do
It's pretty crap in the first place. So wonderfully crap, but...
Well, everyone knows Dare is better.
No, you had to edgy Stan Bush up in here. That's like, yeah. Actually, the best Beatle was Ringo. That's...
He was the heart, man. He was the soul of the group.
Well, my mom likes it.
I actually really like the Linkin Park songs they use on these films. In fact, I like the 3 Transformers Linkin Park songs so much, they trick me into thinking I like Linkin Park. And then I listen to their other songs, I'm like, no, I just like those ones.
No, I came upon Linkin Park when I was student teaching, getting my teaching degree, and all the kids were into this band, Linkin Park. I was like, you're all listening to the crap music. I don't know. So that was my first time being like the old man. It was fun.
Well, our colleague Andrew, every time we go to karaoke, we end up playing a lot of Linkin Park. But Andrew has this weird habit where he likes to do the backing vocals, but he never likes to sing the song on his own. So he'll line up all these Linkin Park songs, but I end up having to sing them. But like, he'll put on one, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. And then it's like, oh, okay, I know what Linkin Park to put on, and I'll just put on the 3 Transformers ones and go to town.
Well, you mentioned earlier when you said correctly there are covers of the original Transformers theme tune on the soundtrack albums. But what's fun about them is that each one of them, and I think there's 2, one on the second film, one on the third, by different bands, is they actually cover the version from the 86 film, but has additional verses that are about the plot of the 86 film. Like, on Dark of the Moon, you've got a version again. Yeah, Unicron's gonna come and eat Cybertron, or whatever that edition.
So I remember there was a version around the time of this film where they tried to do that, but they just replaced the word Unicron with Megatron.
That's art. That's...
Yeah. And Linkin Park actually did do a version of the Transformers theme around the time of this film, but it didn't end up on the CD. And there's a bit where they just like list all the Autobots' names in like a robot voice.
And Unicron comes eventually. You know, he is inevitable.
Yeah, he's at war with that nice Gemma Chan, which I don't think anyone was expecting.
Well, especially as I hadn't watched Prime, the Unicron twist really got me.
Do we have any other big pointers on these first Transformers?
No, I think... So I could understand why, for, like, average Joes, this is the one that was successful. But to me, they just get better. And it's because I don't really care about the people, I just want to see the robots. And in the later films, you get a bit more characterization for robots, you get way more action with the robots. And this one, kind of the climax, the Transformers were kind of secondary. Like, Optimus Prime isn't really the one who beats Megatron. Like, Blackout is killed by humans. Bumblebee gets to kill a robot, but only with Michaela's help. Whereas by the sequel, it's just, here's Optimus Prime, he's got big swords, he's going to chop up some bad guys. And that's what I'm after, to be honest.
I think it stands up extremely well. It's fun. It's the only one where Optimus Prime gets to be funny. He's very serious in the others. Here he gets jokes and little wacky moments, and I quite like that.
He does get one line in the fourth one.
Eventually, 4 films later, he's just very depressed by the final couple of films. He's like,
I mean, he's had like thousands of years of terrible war, so you know.
oh,
You did some gallows humor in that case.
That is something I think. That's something I think the fourth and fifth film actually did really smartly. Was because Bumblebee was so tied to Sam, they made Optimus Prime the human contact character instead. I think that was a smart move.
Boy in his car. Yeah, like for me, this film, it's always been like, I guess for me, slightly above average, but it has so much weight just basically being like the template for the big budget things that, well, at least we were getting up until, a year or two ago. I think the template's probably changing again, so to God knows what.
Well, yeah, who knows what movies are going to look like when they come back?
oh yeah, it's. I think that's why the fourth, fifth one didn't represented the start of a decline, because this style of film was A, being done by everybody else at that point, and B, I think it's we're at a point where we need another film like this, or The Matrix, or Star Wars.
Something needs to reinvent it.
Yeah, it needs something to jazz things up a bit. But what this film also did for Transformers cannot be understated, because at the point this came out, it sort of has peaks and troughs, Transformers, where it builds up to peak popularity, and then it declines a bit. And that's happened a few times prior to this film, and as this came out, it was on the downward slope again. They'd had a few years before they had a mini spike with the start of the Unicron trilogy of toys, but that was really in the doldrums by this point, and the comics weren't really doing as well, and it was basically headed towards G.I. Joe level obscurity. So it definitely needs something to sort of kick it up the ass again, and this kicked it up the ass not just to the level that Beast Wars had managed, or Armada had managed. It kicked it past what the peak of popularity it had at its height in the 80s. It's a legitimate, massive film franchise now, and regardless of it.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't feel like a passing fad or just like a toy fad. It feels like one of the big sci-fi movie franchises.
And that had so much drop down on the rest of it. There were more toys, more cartoons. You had like 2 cartoons on air at the same time up until fairly recently. Much more comics, more successful comics as well. Comics that were getting genuinely good reviews for pretty much the first time ever in the history of Transformers outside the fandom. And all because of a massive swell of interest and success that these films generated. So overall, they have been this incredible positive. I do think their moment has now passed a bit, and it's time for something new, which Bumblebee didn't quite do. To put it mildly, for me,
if
anyway.
anything, Bumblebee went more to the past.
Yeah, it's I don't know whether they need somebody who will do what Michael Bay did and completely reinvent it in their own image. Which, that makes it sound like it's easy to do, which it isn't. But of an era, though, I enjoy this era a lot. And I think I'll continue to do so for many, many years to come.
Well, yeah, I watched the first one last night, and I'm already kind of jonesing to power on through and watch the rest next week.
That means you're going to, that.
Oh, I know, but I got to watch Independence Day first.
There we go. Which you'll notice compared to this has a certain amount of clunk. Not in a bad way, but they're both just maybe both Independence Day or the first Transformers, their status is simply bumped up by being the cultural touchstone of their particular eras.
It is an interesting little fact about Independence Day. That film had no assistance from the military. And you know why they wouldn't give them any assistance?
Because they all blew up.
It mentioned Area 51?
Area 51, yep. They you've got to take the mention of Area 51 out or you won't get any support. And so there were no...
Which is ironic because that film is so pro-military.
Yep.
It's insane.
There were no... I think there's 2 shots of a real plane in that film, but otherwise it's all effects. And when originally they were like, we're going to do it like Top Gun and go and shoot all the planes for real. And they couldn't because of Area 51.
I couldn't cut that out.
See, this Transformers was smart. They just made up their own Area 51 instead.
And they got big bucks from the
There's a
military.
big cube inside Hoover.
It's very different. Don't worry, lads.
Well, I guess we'll tie a bow on this one today. So, Stuart, can you give us your where to find you on the internet?
Where can we find you on the
There we
internet?
go.
Is what Matt's trying to say.
It's early here. I don't know. My brain doesn't work yet.
The main place to find me is on Twitter, where I tweet a lot. Too much, some would say, but I say not enough. I'm trying to improve that by boring people even more. But I'm at Inflatable Dalek. My sort of big project, which is coming to an end now, is for the last 8 years, I have been going through every issue of a British Transformers comic. Originally, sort of in real time, they were published, which was weekly, but dissecting them, reviewing them, putting them in their context, talking about the adverts, the letters pages, and the G.I. Joe reprints in some of them, and things like that. A lot of which is now collected in 2 different books, Transformation Volume 1 and Transformation Volume 2. And if you Google Transformation Solar Pool, the website will come up. I'm currently just about coming to the end of it with the British Age of Extinction comic, which is amazingly already 6 years old. And I just have 3 issues left to go with that, and then that is it for British Transformers comics, because everything after that is just American reprints.
Are there any plans for a third?
I'm a little. Unfortunately, I had scans of all the British Marvel issues done for me by the person who sold me the comics. But for the Michael Bay issues, I've been having to scan them myself. And I'm not very good at it. That takes me up like a whole extra day of a week, so I haven't had a chance to work on the books. But once I finish the website, I will get back to working on the 3rd book. And now there's going to be a 4th book as well, with all the Michael Bay issues.
Post-Marvel.
All the post-Marvel stuff, because there's like 100 issues of that. So yes, that's will. Then
Because once you started doing the books, I gave up on reading the books. It's nice
to be honest, it turns out nobody cares about Age of Extinction comics. That's fine. But
to be honest, you mentioning them just now is the only reason I know they exist.
yeah, so it's a bit of lonely quest these last few months, but I'm going to do it to the end because I'm a tough bastard. And
But speaking of lonely place, I read one of your books in prison.
Hey man, I read one of your books in prison.
well, that's why I write them for prison people.
Maybe I should clarify that I was in prison for charity and not legit in prison. But
Cool now, though, so you should be saying it for standing up to the man.
Own it.
the closest I ever got to being arrested was because I was playing football at 3 a.m.
Against the man. You just have to add that part. But if you are in prison and you want to contact us, where do they do that?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at MLSFS40. We're also on Facebook. Just search for Matt and Luke Sci-Fi Sanctuary. Please just come in, say hi, let us know you're listening. I mean, I presume somebody out there is listening, but I don't actually know that for a fact. And I guess you can leave like a rating and review on iTunes. People normally ask for that on podcasts. I don't know why.
Yeah, we don't know how analytics work. It's fun. Luke will...
Yeah, I honestly don't know how many people listen to this. I have zero idea.
It's fun that way.
Well, I hope it's more than just me, because I only came on here to promote the Age of Extinction comics. So that somebody would read Robert Morrissey.
No, man, you're talking directly into the void right now.
Enter the void. How do you do that sometime? Anyway, sir, yes, thank you very much for joining us on this Transformers rant. I'm the guy with the least qualifications, so it was great to have a guy with some real qualifications to give us that deep down trivia.
Yeah, cheers for coming on.
So I'm just about to cough quite badly. I'll hold off, mate. I'll just sound odd. Yes, it's very good to have been on here. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, take care. It's almost like midnight there, right? So...
It is indeed. Yes, it is the darkest time.
Hey, Luke, how's that sign-off line coming?
Well, Stuart, you can now, and the listeners at home can also transform and roll out!
Next week, we celebrate our Independence Day.